name is John Silversmith. I am the president of Heartland Spiritual Alliance.
I founded Camp Gaia, and I was involved in the early formation of the Heartland Spiritual Alliance. 86 was the first Heartland Pagan Festival.
So 83 years ago.
So yeah, Heartland did not come into being until 2 years later. It was actually the third Heartland Pagan Fest that we had incorporated as Heartland Spiritual Alliance. Because of the issues, I was the vice president the first year that Heartland Spiritual Alliance was responsible for Heartland Pagan Festival. Like I said, there were 2 years previously, which I was not involved. However, whenever we, at that point, we were going to a Campfire Girl Camp, and we had some problems with their board. They saw somebody who was trespassing on the property, saw a young man in a loincloth, and reported it, and they were upset about it. I was quite grateful that he had a loincloth on, because it could have been less. So because of the fact that their board was unhappy with that, we were asked not to come back to the Campfire Girl Camp, and we were there, I think, 3 years. And then we went to Camp Bartle, which was a Boy Scout camp, which was down south in Missouri, quite a ways, about 3 hours. We had an issue there as well, because the Boy Scouts found out that we were giving away condoms at the first aid cabin. When I went before the board after the fact, of course I dressed up very mundane, and we went in and they said that that was the issue, and I said, so you're telling me that the Boy Scouts is against safe sex? And he said, well, no, but you know, we're a young men's organization. I said, but we're not. You know, this was not given to children. There were no children there that were not with their families. However, we are pro safe sex. So that was why we couldn't go there. Well, at that point we started looking for yet another place, and we had already started looking. A man that I was involved with at the time named Chris Watkins and I started looking for places that we could possibly purchase, rent and or possibly purchase. And we actually found this camp about a year before, maybe 2 years before. However, they were asking $350,000 for it. That was just like, oh, maybe not. It's 168 acres, and of course we had all the buildings, and so anyway, we started looking and we couldn't find anything. And that's about the time when the real estate guy that we had talked to about 2 years earlier came back and said, you know, they've reduced the camp. It's only $225,000. And being Scottish, if it's on sale, got to do it, right? So, but we had to have, they agreed to a contract for deed, and that's whenever Earth Rising was born. Earth Rising has always been separate from Heartland Spiritual Alliance. Two different functions. Heartland Spiritual Alliance is a religious educational organization, and it is 501c3 under religion. Camp Gaia, or Gaia Retreat Center, Earth Rising Incorporated is the actual body that owns Camp Gaia, and that is an educational, 501c3 educational. At the time, we were talking back in 91 is when we first acquired the camp. There was a lot of speculation in the news about people that were going back and saying, well, you're not a religion, or you're not an approved religion, and I was really concerned about buying property under an auspice that could be challenged at some point. So we figured we could prove education, no problem. We were having people come in workshops. It wasn't just, we hadn't planned to do just the Heartland Pagan Festival. We had planned to also bring in workshops, and we did. We brought in some workshops and other activities too as well. So that's kind of, so they've always been separate, but they've always been very much intertwined. Same people were involved in a lot of it, and that has stayed, although there's been a little more separation. And I think some of that is, you know, when you're trying to raise money, if you're the ones that are having a bake sale and you're baking all this stuff, and then you're the same people that are buying all this stuff, the money's really not going anywhere. So we really did try to kind of separate things a little so that there was a bigger outreach, and that has happened naturally over time. And I think that there's a very good cohesive relationship between ERI and HSA at this point.
Yeah, I think that ERI and HSA realize that together we're a lot stronger than separate. But we have to remain separate for obvious reasons. But we work together really closely on making sure everybody's safe and happy and secure in their environment. So yeah, we work really, really well together. And I'm looking forward to that relationship becoming stronger in the future. So.
Well, going in, they wanted $60,000 down, and that was crazy. I had gotten a small inheritance from an aunt of $6,000, but we needed to raise $9,000. And you're talking, late 80s. It's very difficult to get pagans to invest, or I thought it was going to be. I was so fortunate because there were so many different people that believed in the vision and had faith in me, which touches me deeply, that they had faith that I would carry it through. And I went to the Midwest Men's Festival was an organization. It's a gay men's organization, and they had festivals for years and years and years. I don't even know how long running it is. But they had been in Iowa, and they had actually had a raid just the year before we started looking at this, where they came and shut them down. They took one of the children until the mother could come pick it up and that sort of stuff. And I went to them and said, listen, this is what we're trying to do. I had an open house kind of to have people to come see the land. And I said, if you're willing to invest in this, you will have a home here. We will make this inclusive. So they were wonderful. They came in right away and helped with fundraising and contributed. The camp was not in the greatest shape when we got it. There's lots of stories about that. But the cabins needed to be painted. There was, plumbing issues. There were more than we knew, as it turns out. But so they were really good. Also, the Midwest Naturists. Am I getting that name right? I think that's right. They also got involved. They're also a men's group, not necessarily gay. That's just, but they're nudists, and they needed a place to kind of be, and they got involved. The Women's Festival was a little slower to get involved. They were a little more specific about what their needs were that we couldn't really address right away. We didn't have a handicap accessible anything, really. We do now, and we got one pretty quickly. We were able to, S2 is our handicap accessible cabin, and it now has a deck and everything, but we got a ramp pretty soon and got the door opened, and we had a good bathroom in there, so that worked out pretty well. But yeah, lots of groups have come and gone through the years. It's just been really heartening to me to watch that continuity of spirit. I talk about that a lot to people, that without the continuity of spirit, nothing lasts. And I see that, the roots to the trunk to the branches. And Gaia has prospered. We paid off the camp in 2012 from a time when it was like, okay, what's our budget? Well, let's see, I've got $6.32. What do you got? That's our budget, whatever we had in our pockets. The camp is 168 acres. We have a 12-acre lake, and we have 6 cabins on this side, and we have 3 cabins on the other side. We have the main hall, the dining hall, and then we have the caretakers. Well, this was the camp office behind us, but two doors down. It was the camp office. The caretaker's cabin was across the street, and it also had a shed behind it that housed this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, we lost that. Thanksgiving, I'm not sure what year, 93. No, maybe 94. 94 we lost it. It burned. And it was sad that it burned, but it burned due to the dryer in the basement. And actually, the best part was that the insurance on that building paid for the grinder and pumping station that we needed for our septic system. Whenever we bought the camp, they told us that this camp would hold 250 people for 2 weeks. That the septic system would manage that. So I thought, well, if it'll do that, it'll hold, at that point we were about between 500 and 600. And I said, well, I'll do 500 or 600 for 4 days, and we built some porta potties. We used the plastic 55-gallon barrels and pallets, and we built porta potties. just kind of facing the woods. We didn't have any covers on the front of them or anything. So actually, we were getting ready to do it. We had got, I think, I'd gotten kind of sidetracked, but we'd gotten the 15,000. We had a contract for deed for 15,000, and we raised. I had 6. We raised 9, and we gave them the 15,000. So we had 1 year to get the other 50,000 because they wanted $65,000 down. So we were in our first year and trying to get it done, and we hadn't started anything. And just before Fest, the people that we bought it from, which was called Glad Tidings Chapel, he told me that they were Assembly of God and a Baptist cross. So we had bought it from them. I had agreed to, for the first 2 years, they could still use the camp for 2 weeks free because that was just part of our deal. I had said that was fine. However, we were getting ready for them to come on Monday, and we had, I'm thinking it must have been midsummer that we had just before it, and the health department came out, and he said that they had had not 1, but 7 calls from Glad Tidings Chapel complaining about the porta potties we were building. So he came out and looked at them, and he said, basically what he said was we had to have hand washing stations. That as long as we were going to have them pumped out, it really wasn't that big a deal. It should have like screen over it to keep bugs out and stuff. But he said, this will work for this, and you can do it later on. Just hand washing stations. But while I'm here, let's take a look and see, what this will do. So we found out at that time, and we just got it in February. So this is like midsummer. So we found out that actually there were 3 septic tanks. 1 that took care of the office and the caretaker's cabin, 1 that took care of the main hall and the dining hall, and 1 that was supposed to have taken care of the south cabins. The pipes for the south cabins septic ran uphill and downhill and were broken and were open and didn't go anywhere. And these cabins, and all these cabins had a toilet and a shower in each one of them at that time. And what they did was go down under the road and out on the grass.
What?
Thank you. That was exactly my reaction to it. And they were coming Monday. Well, of course, I was steaming mad. Now, the main hall and the dining hall and the caretaker's cabin and the office were fine. They actually went there. But that meant we had 4 toilets, in the whole camp. They were supposed to work. And I thought we had, 10 or 11. I thought we were good. So there wasn't much I could do. But we'd already built the porta potties. And I told whenever we went in and we sealed all the toilets. We put tape around them so that they couldn't be used. But we figured they'd go ahead, even though in Douglas County they don't differentiate between brown water and black water. It's all the same. It has to go in a septic. However, we just were ignoring that. And I told them when they came, if you were a paying person, I would feel that we would need to get you porta potties to make up the difference. But since you're not paying and you lied, this is on you. But you cannot use the toilets. You can use the shower, etc. And I left for 2 weeks. I came back at the end of their 2 weeks, and they had undone all the toilets and used them as they would. I was steamed. My hair used to be red. It's not as red now, but it was much redder. And I walked into the office and talked to the minister and told him, I said, what were you doing? He goes, well, this is, we've used the camp like this for years. It's never been a problem. It's like, you called the health department. You had to know that our porta potties were lots better than what you've been doing for years. In fact, the health department guy talked about citing them, going back retroactively, just because he thought it was sneaky and hateful. So he turned out to be a pretty good friend, actually. But he started giving me this a bit about, we've done this, and I said, well, that's all right. I said, tell you what, when you get to that gate, I want you to turn around and take one long last look, because if I have to turn tricks on Troost, you will never set foot on this property again. Troost is kind of a rough area in Kansas City, and there used to be a lot of prostitutes there, and that's what I was talking about. Luckily, I didn't have to do. I was lucky. This camp has always been a camp. It was a nudist camp in the 50s. It became a Baptist camp after that, and then after that it was the Glad Tidings Chapel. So we had a grandfather, as far as a zoning permit, we had that. We were grandfathered in. Unfortunately, a member of the board forgot or didn't realize or something, and it was after I had already gone, and he applied for a zoning. He reapplied for a zoning permit. And in doing that, it had to go before all the neighbors. And we had a bunch of neighbors who were up in arms. We had to fight that. We eventually won, but that was a lot of it was a lot of conflict, and it was a lot of expense. But people were wonderful. Talk about things you don't expect. I mean, there's horrible things you don't expect, but then there's the wonderful things that happen because of that. I think that it galvanized the community. For us, it got the word out, because there were people going, oh, wait a minute. Should it have happened? No. We were, if they had remembered that we were grandfathered, they wouldn't have done it. There was nothing malicious of intent at all. They thought they were doing the right thing. So, but it did open up kind of for bigger problems. But it got handled, and, I think we were stronger for it. I think a lot of the things, it's kind of like putting the camp together. When we first got here, there were water heaters and pianos and tiles off the roof, in the spillway, the runoff from the pond, and down that creek, and a car, and we spent just moldy mattresses. We pulled out. We have new mattress. Well, they're not new now, but they were new then. It's been a long time. We have got new mattresses, and we were able to do that because people donated and helped with that. We got rid of the moldy ones, but there was some in the creek that had been there for a long time, so we had to burn all that up. And do not use gasoline when starting a fire. Well, it wasn't my idea. But we have males, even still, that like to blow up things. They just do. They like to start fires.
No.
It was so funny because one of the people that was helping, his wife had come out. She'd just had a baby. And if you didn't get both spouses, I'm afraid that the camp became a wedge sometimes, because it sucked you in. You just get involved, and you love it, and you just want to be here. And if the spouse is not really there, and she had a baby, it's camping with a baby's a whole different experience. Yeah. So I had just brought her in. I had taken her down to our S2 cabin, which was the first one we renovated, so that we'd have the handicap, and I had sprayed it for bugs, and we had gotten it all cleaned out because she didn't like bugs. And I had just taken her down there and said, see, it's not so bad. You can use this cabin anytime you come out, and that way when you and Ron are together, you can be here. And it's like, fine. So we're walking back down to that was back when the pavilion was down there. And all of a sudden we get halfway down, and I had just said to her, you see, there's really nothing dangerous. It's just a very peaceful, nice place to be. And all of a sudden, there's a whoosh. This huge fireball goes up in the air and down the creek. And we're just like going. And I turned around and said, "That was your husband." Nothing really. It didn't set the woods on fire. I guess it was just the fumes that lit, but scared them. Yeah.
The touching back on the families and coming here and the children that we raised here, we have a growing population of little ones. My little boy was born, believe it or not, on the day we were supposed to leave for Heartland. And at that time, I was in charge of security, like I still am now. And my wife was the work exchange committee chair. And he was born 2 months early. He was a very sick little boy. And when we told camp what was going on, a lot of our friends, which we're all friends, I mean, everybody up on this hill, whether I've met them or not, by the time they leave this camp, have become part of our family, people with common goals and interests and beliefs, and we're all stronger for it. They all got together and they thought about my little one for a long time, and like I said, he was very sick. He couldn't be touched. He couldn't have any light. He couldn't have any sound, or his heart would stop. And they were constantly keeping it going with IV drip caffeine and anything they could to get it stronger. And they didn't really have very good outlook for him. And then a week into Heartland, they said, we don't know what's going on, but he's going to be fine. And, you know, the powers of people is amazing, that energy, you know. He is now 11. He is fine. For the first 7 years of his life, he thought this camp and this festival was in celebration of his birthday. He told a little girl in preschool that, yes, I have a birthday party out in Leavenworth, and they have fireworks, and they have bands, and they have speakers, and they have all these people that come share my birthday with me.
He's not wrong.
And he's not wrong, because we always have, dining room has a party for him every year, and but I've seen a lot of children grow up here, a lot of little boys that honestly I would like to have
Throttled.
yeah, locked in a room somewhere and dealt with later, that have grown into fine, decent young men, and same with the women. And you know, we are a family, and we are very, very happy with that reputation that we have.
It's very hard to balance. We're a business and we're a family. And sometimes those two seem to be at juxtapositions, and we try really hard to be family positive business. Is
Right.
that, I mean,
Yeah,
you know, we have to have protocols, we have to have procedures in order to keep everybody safe and to make sure that things run right. But we also are very aware that this is a family organization. Earth Rising as well as Heartland. People have to understand that while we're a family business, we are still a business. We're subject to the rules of the state, of the United States. We try very hard to have safety rules in place for Gaia, and they have even more rules that are specific to HSA. But all of it is designed to have a positive, safe environment and place. We have to have procedures, just like any business. It's not all about the money. We have to have money to run this place. It takes a tremendous amount. Having it paid off was wonderful, but we're also going to have to replace the pumping station, which is now 20 years old. Even though it was wonderful when it happened, you know, things don't last forever. We constantly repaint the buildings. We put new roofs. We built a new pavilion. Our old pavilion was flattened by a microburst, but the insurance paid for the new pavilion. Not entirely, but you know, so there's been things that have happened, but we have run into problems, and I know that y'all have too. You can speak to that.
Yeah. Yeah. We run into some problems. It's like any family. Okay, you're going to have disagreements. You're going to have things that work well and things that don't. And it's always a learning curve for us, because what worked really well last year may not necessarily work this year. Because as we do grow and as laws of local city government changes, we have to change with them. 3 years ago, we weren't doing sexual offender checks, background checks. Now, everybody that steps foot on our property in our festival gets an RSO check. If you're on a registered sex offender list, unfortunately, you cannot come to our festival because we are a family festival. The safety and well-being of the people in this festival is my number one priority. There is no give in any of that. I will not waver. I cannot, because my child is up there too. And there are people up there that depend on keeping them safe. We have a very large gay community, a very large transgender community that don't necessarily fit in anywhere out there, but they are more than welcome to fit in here, and they do. And I will not let anybody jeopardize that. So, structure, yeah, we need it. We need those rules. We have to have them. Without them, it's chaos. So, and we cannot have chaos, because chaos leads to injury, and injury is not on my watch. So, we've had quite a few snake bites, a lot of those.
If you wear shoes and use a flashlight, you reduce the chance of getting bit by a snake. But I constantly see people walking barefoot in the middle of the night with no flashlight, and I know I want to too, but you can't. We share this land.
I've wrangled just this week alone about 6 copperheads. They call me, I go get them. I got a little thingy, I pick them up with a stupid in a bucket, and I relocate them. We do not kill them. That is totally the same thing I believe in. They live here. We're only at the place for 2 weeks, so it's their home, not mine. Injury-wise, we've had people fall off. My son, my oldest son, fell off the back of my car when we were doing pit cleanup. He got a concussion over it. I've treated concussions, broken bones from people walking around barefoot. Maybe they've consumed a little bit more than they should have, and we've all done it. And they'll roll an ankle, and then we got to take them in. They got to get their ankle fixed. Major injuries, we've really never had much of anything. Other than the snake bites, which I think in 20 years that I've been here, we've probably had 3 that I know of, which is far less than it could be. But people are pretty much aware of snakes, and they kind of like to stay away from them. And the snakes want to stay away from you too. So it's just a lot of bad decisions lead to a lot of injuries, and so a lot of people aren't making those bad decisions as much as they used to. Back a long time ago, they were jumping fire.
I was just going to say, in the early days, we had small fires, and we had the reason they're so big now is so they're too big for any unthinking person to jump, because we had people jumping fires and they would fall, hit and fall back into the fires. That happened more than once.
I was in the med tent, like I'm always in the med tent, and my stories, I don't really drink a lot. I never really have. So when I'm out here, I've always worked, and I've always been in a medical tent, and I've always been in a security tent. So those are all night shifts. So it worked for me because I don't do the party thing. And we got a call that this guy has burned his feet. And so we ran over there, and not only did he burn his feet, but he burned his feet and all the way up the back of his legs, and, well, other regions, other areas. And he toasted his bits, and we got him to the hospital. But what he had done is he thought he could clear it, but it was like this high. And it was about 2, 3 feet off the ground, but it was also about 4 feet wide. And alcohol, the master of bad decisions. So it turned out to be okay. I mean, clearly he wasn't maimed for life, scarred for life, but it was a wake-up call for him. Because with that indulgence comes a certain level of bad decisions and immaturity, so to speak. But with the alcohol, it is legal on this property, so I can't monitor who drinks what because that's not my business. I'm not their parent. But as far as illegal drugs, okay, unfortunately, marijuana is still illegal in the state of Kansas. All drugs are illegal. Drugs are illegal in the state of Kansas. Sometimes they think that those rules do not apply here, and unfortunately they do apply here, and we do have undercover police officers walking these grounds at times that will take you where they want you to go, and you really don't have a choice. So we truly discourage it. I know it's going to happen somewhere off in the woods, away from everybody else. There's nothing I can do about that because I can't be everywhere. But we definitely discourage it because we do have to follow those laws. If we do not, and they can take this property away. And I don't want my organization being the reason their organization loses their land.
And I don't want to be. I refuse to let one person jeopardize the work of so many. To me, it's the height of selfishness to take that risk, and it's just not. It's not okay. It's simple. Again, it's the law. It doesn't matter what your attitude is or what my attitude is about any of it. Until the the forces that be decide to agree with us, then we have to not do it. You know, it ebbs and flows, but mostly the pagan community has been really wonderful to us. I will say that when I founded the property, it was not my intent for it just to be a pagan property. I mean, obviously the primary people that were on the board of directors, it is a not-for-profit. Nobody owns it. There's a 7-member board of directors. They're all volunteer. Everybody who's here is a volunteer. The caretakers get a small stipend, but it is nothing compared to the work they do. I do not consider them paid employees because they do 10 times more than they ever get. And that's only happened in the last maybe 10 years that they've even gotten a stipend. Where was that? So people have been real supportive, and as I said, the early days people came out and they donated money so that we could get this land. We did not raise the $50,000 we needed to the first year, and there was a few of us that were sitting around saying, okay, if we mortgage our houses, how much can we pull together? And those people are dear to my heart as well. And as it turned out, there was a woman named Lori Goldman, and she had just gotten an inheritance. And she said, no, don't do that. I am going to buy the camp from them outright and give you all a 10-year loan. I think we were paying 8%, so it wasn't free, but she loaned us money. We tried. A fellow who was involved at that time named Clarity and I, we dressed up as nice as we could, and we went to the banks with our proposal. We did business plan, everything, but we had no track record. I was a nurse, but we also had a house, so there was mortgage. We didn't really have anything for them to believe us. But so Lori took a chance on that, and we had a balloon payment in 10 years, which at that time we did have a track record, and we were able to get a loan. So we were able to pay her off. So she really, hauled our ashes out of the fire. Really, that was really wonderful. So support comes from unexpected places. You'll get a new group that comes in, and they do a lot of work. The Men's Festival, they have, besides donating money anytime we needed something, really, if something happened, I could go to them. I did have to talk them out of doing fans in the cabin like the first year, though. They wanted to put ceiling fans in all the cabins, which would have been really wonderful, except that if we hadn't been able to make our land payment that year, the bank would have not cared whether there was fans or not there. So we talked, and they were wonderful. Since then, they have been incredible. They built the new stairs. Well, it's not new anymore. The ones in front of the bathhouse.
The stairs of doom.
Yeah, the stairs of doom. But it sure beats the pig trail we had before.
Yeah.
The only way to get to the top before, and this road, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a pig trail. I mean, really, to the top of the hill. We put lights, the first year we put lights on it, and that was it. But we had a rope to hold on. Shaggy did that. And this road was nothing. I mean, you could bottom out on it. This road is amazing. That's one thing I learned when I got here. In fact, I learned quite a bit of things. I learned that water goes its own way. And you can hope it goes this way, and you can dig a ditch there, but if that's not where the water's going to go, it doesn't matter. The ditch is going to stay empty. So we dig ditches mostly when it rains. That's what we did at that time, see where it was going to go. But we got so excited. We got a donation, and I got 10 tons of gravel. And I was so excited. It's like, all right, we're going to do that road up to the top of the hill, and if we have some left over, we're going to do on the other side of the dam, and yada, yada. He came up, and where we come up, there's a Y, and it goes this way, and it goes that way. He started at the Y, and he went about 15 feet. And that was it. 10 tons of gravel doesn't go very far.
It's not much.
I had no idea. 10 tons sounded like to me we were going to be able to do a lot. So the roads now are marvelous compared to what we had. Of course, they've had gravel about every other year. But we had a local guy that was really good. We called him Digger Jim, and he would come out and he would bring his little backhoe, and he would do stuff along, to help us with the ditches. They've got another guy now that's been helping for quite a while. I had not met him. But the caretakers have been just wonderful. Our caretakers now, Clint and Ree, have been here the longest of any caretakers, and I can't sing their praises enough. They're just amazing. They're wonderful with people. They're great with procedures. They are, of course, on the board of directors because they're the ones that are in the trenches all the time. And they, bottom line, they always have the best interest of the camp at heart. Absolutely. There is only one person on the board of directors at this moment that knew me before they were on the board of directors. And she wasn't on the board of directors until recently. So it's been really heartening to me that I've been able to maintain such a close relationship with the board of directors. And that's it. Same with Heartland. I haven't been a member of Heartland I'm a member, but I'm not, I haven't been actively involved for a long time. But I didn't remember Dusty when I was here before. But once you meet Dusty, you gotta love Dusty.
No, you don't. There's some people out there gonna argue that
Well,
one.
he's kind of a hedgehog person. He's kind of prickly on the outside, but he's got this soft underbelly. Shh, maybe that shouldn't be on TV.
Nah, it's fine. Somebody told me that my emotional support animal should be a honey badger because it's the only thing I could actually handle.
Or a rattlesnake.
No, too cold.
Oh.
They don't have any soft underbellies.
You can't always please everybody, and we know that. And there have been times that some bad decisions have led into some evictions, so to speak, for one reason or another. And unfortunately, I hate to do that. It's the last thing I could possibly ever want to do is throw somebody out. But when you're that far outside of the law and that far in disagreement with obeying the law, then instead of jeopardizing the safety of people here, losing the land, it's time for you to go, and then I will escort you out. I had been stabbed up here by a woman who, for some reason or another, did not take her meds for a couple days, and then decided to drink a whole lot, and got real combative, and we had to escort her out, and unfortunately the police had to get involved to take her with them. So, just like I say, you just can't make everybody happy. So some people out there, I don't know, might not like me very much, but for the most part, everybody pretty much gets along with me. I'm not that. I act tough, but I'm really not.
Don't tell anybody. He's got to keep up his
Yeah,
reputation.
he can take that out. I do have a background, which is very interesting. I'm an electrical engineer. I have a master's degree from UC Berkeley. I traveled for 18 years. I never even owned a house. I was from hotel room to hotel room, from city to city, state, country, and I actually ran 3 committees from Japan. Not all at the same time, but 3 different committees when I lived in Japan via email with my roommate here, who is now the chairperson for registration, and her husband, who is also on my security team. They were my roommates, so when I was in the United States, I'd surf on their couch. The last time I traveled, my son was 3, my little one, and then it just got too hard. I just missed him too much, and he missed me, and he needed that home. So I was in Australia for 8 years at that point in time, but I was flying home every 6 months, and that was just way too hard on a family. So I never planned on having one. It just kind of happened because, love does its thing. So I actually was vice president from there. No, I was still security and first aid from Australia. So I did a lot of emails, scheduling. You send an email, but you got to wait 12 hours to get a response. And if it's urgent, then you're like sitting there for half a day, just waiting for it to go ding. And yeah, so it was kind of rough back then, but it's not so bad now. I mean, now I still live 3 hours away and we own a farm, but my background was very interesting at that point in time because I just never was home. And yeah, we raise beef cows. They're all organic, no GMOs, no hormones, none of that. It's all just, we worm them, raise them on grass, finish them on grass, and process. And then we sell them to our friends for like $3.50 a pound. So we raise all our own vegetables. We can all our stuff. We live right smack dab in one of the largest Amish communities in Missouri, which is kind of weird because we got to hide what we are from them. At the same point, look at them because they're a bunch of kitchen witches and don't know it because they do a lot of herbal remedies and they make their own tinctures and they say you can't plant until the moon is full because then you'll have a better harvest and you can't actually slaughter a pig until the moon is waning because then the meat won't be as tough if we and I'm just looking at them going, really? Tell me more. Because I don't, they don't have a clue and we help each other, but I am in the process of possibly getting, well, not possibly, I will be getting beehives and building colonies, and my ultimate goal is to get at least 100 hives.
Nice.
Being in that Amish community, one thing that struck me odd is nobody raises honey, which is very strange to me why they wouldn't, because of all the natural flowers we have out there and all the gardens that are growing out there. You'd think they'd have some honey hives, but they don't. So I was going to raise a bunch. I'm also a mead brewer, so I was going to make my mead and sell my honey and hopefully retire up there, and that's all I want to do. So, yeah.
Well, that's our roots. I mean, we were country dwellers in the old days, and all of our traditions have come down from that. So they just don't know that their traditions are the same as our traditions.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, so that was our plan. My basic plan is to get my hives and get my colonies built. Of course, they won't produce the first year because whatever they produce that year will have to be put in for them to eat all winter. And as you know, Missouri is known for extremes on both ends of the scale. You got really cold winters and really hot summers. So keeping your colony alive in the winter is key. You have to have enough food. But yeah, once I get rolling, I should be able to produce enough local honey that I can put in all little shops and Amish stores and stuff like that up there. And local honey is the best thing in the world for allergies.
Absolutely.
If you give your child a teaspoon every day, his allergies won't bother him anymore because he's getting used to the pollen in the area by ingesting it and eating it instead of breathing it. So it's got its medicinal purposes as well as making some pretty tasty mead. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And collecting, harvesting beeswax. There's so much you can do with a bee. You harvest beeswax, make candles. There's a lot of things you can do. So I'm looking forward to it. When we come out on Saturday. Our festival doesn't start till that following Thursday. So we have all those days of setup. All the staff is together. We cook for each other. We have community meals because we don't have a meal planner provider here, so we have to eat. So we all pull in all our food together, and we'll cook for each other breakfast, lunch, dinner. And we get some ladies in the kitchen that can't do the physical thing, and they'll do all the cooking. And I had a conversation with, and I think it was Bootstrap Bill Turner, that what we wanted to see going forward, because we were watching our two little boys, who are very good friends. One is 9, one is 11, mine's 11. And he goes, where do you see them in 10 years? And I said, I see mine, doing what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that they're going to keep this place going, because I want it to grow as our children grow. And I want our children to take our place so we can be the old crones, the old people that sit in the camp that can't do anything anymore, and watch our children carry on this beautiful tradition of this camp. And I want to be able to see that as we grow and develop, that more and more people get educated in our religious beliefs, and more people start accepting us a little bit more than we are accepted, and aren't as closed-minded to what they think we are as opposed to what we really are. And hopefully our children can educate them in that way, especially now with technology like this, social media, definitely. So I see a lot of things going forward that we didn't have as when we were first coming out here, that they can utilize and promote our way of life, and hopefully Camp Guy will be a very very big part of that.
Social media is a double-edged sword, though. I tell you, talk about some bad surprises. I love Facebook for being able to keep track of people that I love and their children and watching them grow. And I have had the privilege of, I have now done a child blessing on a child whose mother I hand fasted, the grandchild of a mother who I hand fasted and did their wickening and then did their child. So I've seen 4 generations here, which is just, I always leave here with my heart about 10 times bigger than it was when I got here, which is crucial to me. So I'm seeing some of this. Some of the ones that are now working with you are some of the young people that were children when I was first here. Some of the improvements to the land. I'd like to see a bathhouse up top. That would be really nice. When we first came, we didn't really go up top that much. The road was not good. The trail was not good. We did ritual up there, where the merchant circle is. That's where we did the main ritual. But most everything was down here. And now that the pavilion is gone down here and moved up there, we've really gone more that way. Plus, we're able to spread out a little more. More of the camp is usable. So a bathhouse up there would be nice. I really desperately want a house for our caretakers. God love them, Clint and Ree have lived in this little hovel, and it's 2 rooms and a toilet. I mean, we're talking nothing. And they have done this, all this. I'm just reading, as people said at one point we came under criticism because we were actually giving them some money. And it's like, they get free rent and utilities. It's like, yeah, but it's
You
nothing.
gotta eat.
It's a cracker box, and they work their tails off. And we have had caretakers, from the beginning, and some were wonderful and some were not so wonderful. The shower house is kind of one of those places where the plan was processed with one group of people, and then changes happened, and other people came in and they said, "Oh no, let's make it bigger. Let's add on another part to it." Well, that part's not attached, so it's coming off, and it's a big building, and it didn't come together the way it should have, and it's been a constant source of issue. Going forward. So I'm hoping that next one we do, we'll have the same group of people that start it and finish it, and it'll do better. People work together on and off, getting back to the unhappy things. Facebook is a problem. You can't work through issues on Facebook. If there's some people, because they don't know the process, we're talking about the importance of rules before. Earth Rising has protocols for way things are handled when structure is broken, when structure breaks down. Heartland has their rules, and just because one person may not know the process, may not be privy to that information because they don't need to know. We keep people's confidentiality. It's not really what happens at Gaia stays at Gaia, but we also don't broadcast it. It's not something, but the Board of Heartland and the Board of Gaia, I know these people deeply, and at the deepest place in their heart, the bottom line, common denominator, is that they want the absolute best for this camp and all the people that come here. And whenever there's an issue, instead of running to social media and blasting out this whole thing, this happened and this happened and this happened and they didn't do anything, you might not know what's being done. That doesn't mean nothing is being done. And I have begged, pleaded, and cried over, that's not how, you can't work through an issue by social media. You just can't. And they, you can't stifle people's thoughts. And it's like, I don't want to stifle them, but I want them to make informed posts. I don't go out there and blast anger when you don't have all the facts. You don't have all the information. And I am grateful every day of my life that I did not have Facebook when we were first starting this camp. That was not something I had to deal with. That's something that everybody else is having to deal with, and it drives me crazy. I hate it.
I
But-
think it's a generational thing.
I agree.
Ugh.
I've no, there are two sides to every coin, and yes, as there is bad publicity that can be spewed on Facebook, there's also a lot of good that can be posted
Absolutely.
on Facebook.
Absolutely.
We get a lot of Heartland HPF gets a lot of good reviews on Facebook
You do.
with maybe one or two people who didn't understand or didn't like the way something was handled. So I think the good always outweighs the bad.
I hope so. I'm not convinced at this point, but
And
I'd like to think so.
At least we get an opportunity to address the bad point. If we
Absolutely.
didn't have social media, we would never know he was feeling this way.
Well, that's true.
That way I can
Fair
at
enough.
least address it to him and explain to this person why this happened and possibly, switch off into Messenger and do it on a private forum and try to explain to him, maybe educate him and find out, reach a resolution that will be beneficial for both. So that's why I think Facebook, as it has its little demons, is actually a useful tool for us when it comes to wanting to grow and needing to grow. Technology, unfortunately, is here, and we have to go with it, because if we don't, we'll be left behind. And if we're left behind, then we cannot grow. And I refuse to think that we shouldn't grow, to be honest with you. So, yeah, bad, good. We used to get
And in
ugly.
between.
We used to get ugly, mean letters.
That's
Does
true.
that mean we shouldn't have mail?
For the Gaia Retreat Center, just Google Gaia Retreat Center, and it will pop up. I think that it's under campgaia.org, but it could be under GaiaRetreat.org because there has been some changes over the years. There's also a Facebook page called Love for Camp Gaia and
Friends of
Gaia as well.
For HSA and the Heartland Pagan Festival. We are located at www.kchsa.com, or you can actually email me personally, because, well, that's the kind of guy I am, at tcchvac@gmail.com, and I will be happy to answer any questions you have. We're more Memorial Day week, so
On the Gaia page, you'll find a calendar, and it will tell you if there's something. The staff here at Gaia does put on seasonal celebrations that are open to anybody who wants to come. There are also, I think there's 3 exclusive events that happen during the year. It's on the calendar that it is an exclusive event, and there's a sign posted at the gate that says it's an exclusive event. So you need to check with those groups if you want to be involved with their exclusive event, because the camping rates at Gaia they're subject to whatever the group's rules are.
correct. Daily. They can come out here daily.
Oh, yeah.
If there is not an event to go swimming, they can camp on the weekends. They can rent a cabin. They can enjoy themselves. And it doesn't have to be an event for them to come out
Not
here.
at
They
all.
can come out here and enjoy their day anytime they want.
Even half a day swim, canoe. It's a wonderful family place, and it is clothing optional above the lower level, not right at the main hall, dining hall, and that sort of thing. So someone wouldn't get a big surprise.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been lovely.